at breakfast on Talk Radio.
Good morning to you. This is Talk Radio Breakfast with me, Julia Hartley-Brewer. 9:34 is the time. Stark new exposé of care homes has revealed that the institutionalised care home system is broken. Well, did we not know that already? But a new research released today reveals the results of a secret shopper survey of staff in more than 1,000 care and nursing homes, and reveals numerous risks to resident safety and health in those institutionalised care homes. Let's talk about this with Sue Cook, who's a TV presenter and care home campaigner. Good morning to you, Sue.
Good morning, Julia.
Thank you so much for joining us. Now, I mean, obviously, we've focused an awful lot on care homes in the last year with the absolute just horrific death toll we've seen there, and not just that from COVID, but the death toll from dementia and from people just frankly pining, dying, lack of contact with the outside world, with their families and loved ones, and the ongoing battles that so many residents still have to be able to see their family members, if at all, or for more than 20 minutes a fortnight. This survey, though, this research basically looks into far more aspects of what could be going wrong in care homes. Tell us what was found.
Well, I'm not an expert on the report, but they've found that, as you say, the well-being of old elderly people in care homes, their residents, simply wasn't being looked after properly on many levels. The mental well-being, the physical well-being, and as you know, I've been campaigning against the fact that people haven't been able to visit their loved ones. If you've got dementia, you're in unfamiliar surroundings in a care home. The one thing you need is the familiarity of your loved ones. And human contact is everything. It's a healing thing.
Yeah.
If you haven't got human contact, I mean, so many people must have been sitting in those care homes wondering what on earth was going on.
And with no idea at all why their loved ones had abandoned them. We know so many of the loved ones saying that. And I've talked about this before. I had an elderly aunt in a care home. She actually left. We were very lucky. It was a fantastic. Again, shouldn't say you're lucky. It should be a given that all care homes are loving and caring and do the right thing. But she was in a lovely care home and lovely, really loving, thoughtful, kind staff. But we know from undercover cameras and documentaries and cases in the past that not all care homes are the same, and not all carers are actually caring. And this is a really big issue. Even when you've got people who, they're not bad people who are working in care homes, but they're overworked, understaffed, underqualified, and struggling. And especially with the last year, things going downhill for a lot of people, that actually a lot of older people, they're simply not getting the care that they need.
The problem is their institutions. As you say, there are some wonderful people, but their institutions, I think this report finds that the most continual time per day that any staff can spend with one resident is 3 hours, and that's transactional time. That's time that they're using to feed them or do some kind of administrative thing with them. But there's no hand-holding, stroking, hugging, just talking, reassuring voices. That's why this report really is the Live-In Care Hub really is bringing to light something I hadn't really thought of yet, even though my mother is nearly 102.
Oh, gosh.
She's living alone in her own home. I am very, very lucky. I know at some point that a decision will have to be made, and I've always thought, I really hope, wonderful as a lot of these homes are, I really hope that I don't have to put her in there.
Does she have do you go in and care for her? Do other family members, does she have a carer who comes in every day?
No, she's got...
I'd love to meet her. I bet she's a tour de force.
She's amazing. She's raised the bar very high for me, I can tell you. So she has a cleaner once a week, 2 hours, lovely Liz. I go once a week because she's in London, and my brother goes once a week. I go Sundays, my brother goes Wednesdays, and she makes us a meal. Well, very often I'll have to do the final preparations and all the clearing up and things, but she'll have done a casserole or a fish pie, as she did the day before yesterday for us. She is amazing, and that keeps me going, and she has to go.
Well, now that's one of the key things, and I found this with my aunt. Just actually, there's very little to do in a care home, and you just think there's television, and there's not really very much to do. And actually, living on your own, at least you've got a little bit, the cleaning, a bit of putting the washing on, preparing a meal, doing the shopping, reasons to go out, to come back home, just the minutiae of life that just sort of gives you a purpose and passes the hours. And this is the thing. I mean, so many people are very afraid of going into a care home, very afraid of their loved ones, and feel in some ways it's a failure. But for a lot of people, it's just not possible, especially if we've got dementia and Alzheimer's. It's simply not safe for people. Certainly my grandmother, she had to go into a care home. She didn't know where the bathroom was in her own home from 25 years. She simply was not safe to be at home. But we can only do that on the basis that we know that they are safe. What can be done? I mean, you've been campaigning on care homes for a long time, partly from your TV work where you became, knowledgeable about it. What can be done to make sure that every care home gives every vulnerable resident the best life they can have?
Well, there's going to be a public inquiry called for into the whole care home system after all this COVID pandemic's over, if it's ever over. And so that would be great. But in the meantime, we need more choices. And to have a live-in carer, which my brother's mother-in-law had, is absolutely the answer, because you've got a familiar person who actually lives in one, if you obviously need a spare bedroom, but the familiarity of a carer. They're wonderful people. My mother's mother-in-law had one would come from Poland for 6 weeks, then she'd go back, then another one would come, then another one would come back. So she got to know them, and they got to know her, and they were understanding. She had dementia, so familiarity is, you get terribly paranoid when you've got dementia. So the familiarity of a familiar person there, who becomes almost like a friend, but who's sensitive to your needs. If you need some time to space, they'll sort of withdraw, but if they need to sit down and hold your hand and take hours, because it takes hours, of course, to feed people with dementia. You can't just shove some food down them half an hour. It needs to be reheated every so often. So I think this, if you can contact the Live-In Care Hub and find out if my mother does need something when the time comes. She's feisty. I asked her only the day before yesterday when I saw her, how would you feel about having a live-in carer? She said, no, I don't want anybody living with me.
We've got to get her on the show. I love the sound of her. Suku, thank you very much indeed, TV presenter and care homes campaigner. Thank you so much for joining us. 9:41 is the time. Let's turn our attention to what's happening in Israel and Gaza. Health officials in Gaza say they've had no reports of Palestinians killed overnight in Israeli airstrikes. It's the first apparent evidence there might be a reduction in casualties since the fighting erupted on the 10th of May. We're now over a week into this latest round of hostilities, but we have seen Palestinian rockets